Good morning. How are you today? So our conversation today is still going to be a little bit around these key and core areas that I work with. The reason that I work with these areas is because when I'm doing the thing that I do, first of all, I have literally decades of, and I'm laughing when I say that because I find it impossible to believe, but I have decades of experience of working with people with all manner of physical and mental health problems. And we're talking 4 decades, literally tens of thousands of people, successfully, I would add, in clinic, on riverbanks, in companies, anywhere and everywhere. So I've worked with lots and lots of people, but another reason that I do the work that I do is I've experienced a lot of these kinds of problems, the kinds of problems that I encounter in the people that I work with. I experience them as well. As a clinician, as a psychotherapist and psychologist, over the years, it's been necessary for me to explore my past and go right back in time, and it's made me aware of things, that traumas that have happened to me that I hadn't even considered would have been having an impact on me decades later. The first one that I know of, and the reason that I say the first one I know of is that we know that when little babies are growing in the womb, the experience that they're having when they're inside is impacting them. If their mum is stressed or things are going on, or they can, sense tensioning, etc., that has an impact. But what I didn't know for years, or didn't realize for years, because it had been a part joke in our family, and again I shall go into that in more detail, was that I nearly wasn't born. And it's quite a big trauma, actually. So I had the umbilical cord wrapped so tightly around my neck that it was preventing me from being born. And I was a home birth. So my father was there, and I was obviously struggling, and he managed to get the cord off from around my neck, and I was born. And then, as was the custom in those days, usually you had a drawer, a chest of drawers or something similar, and I was put into this box, covered up, kept warm, while my mother was being attended to. Now, that sequence of events leading to me being born had impact on me, which I'd not really ever considered. I hadn't really ever considered that that was maybe a bit traumatic. But if you actually think about it, that's quite a traumatic way to be born. And the kinds of impacts that I found that I had is, if I had something around my neck, and even now, I don't like things tightly around my neck. I'm paranoid. If I have a scarf wrapped around my neck, I'm paranoid about it getting caught. Is that you getting the grip? I don't like polo neck jumpers that come up here. If somebody puts their hand on my throat, that really makes me tense, causes my heart to start beating fast. Tight jewellery, yes. Being in tight enclosed spaces. My worst nightmare is if somebody suggested we went for a fun trip potholing. I'd be like, no, I think I shall stay home. So the impact that trauma had on me has stayed. It's been part of my life, but I wasn't aware of it. So when we talk about trauma, there's the kind of trauma that people can be aware of. So if you've had a road accident or an injury, if you've been assaulted, sexually assaulted, raped, if you've been hit, if you've been abused, if you've been shouted at, bullied physically. But you know that there are traumas that you may not even consciously be aware of. And I say may not even, but there will be traumas that you're not consciously aware of. All you'll be aware of is your interesting responses and reactions. And you'll notice that I smile when I say that, because for me, whenever I find I'm having an interesting response or reaction, I'm always thinking, what's triggering this? What's triggering this? So today I just wanted to briefly explain a little bit about traumas and how things can cause an impact, a pattern in your system, an imprint, and you're not aware of it. And that without you actually addressing that can influence how you behave. And also to draw attention to the fact that as somebody that you might choose to work with, that actually I do understand what it's like to go through these. And I think it's very common for people to go through all manner of trauma and for it to have an effect. So I don't just work with people who've had umbilical cords wrapped around them. I work with people, all sorts of people who've had all sorts of trauma. And mostly people get in touch with me either through my website or social media or something similar. But yeah, if you're interested in pursuing this idea of whether previous trauma could be impacting how you're behaving now, I'd love to hear from you. Have a lovely day. Take care.